We all know a basic reality of the NFL is life can come at you fast. And that can manifest in a variety of different ways. You could be like the Jacksonville Jaguars and have the worst record in the league one year, have the number one overall pick, and then turn around and go from worst to first, win your division, and then win a playoff game. That happens. It can happen. It does happen. Think the year before that. The Bengals were brutally bad. And then come back another year, Burrow's healthy a whole season, you've added Jamar Chase into the fold, and all of a sudden, they're going to the Super Bowl and damn near won it. So life can come at you fast in a positive sense. It can also come at you fast in a negative sense, where you can make the Super Bowl or maybe even win the Super Bowl one year, and then the next year you backslide, you tailspin, and you don't even make the playoffs. And that's what we saw for the Los Angeles Rams in 2022. Now the good thing for them is they went all in, and the all-in gamble paid off. They will always have that Super Bowl title. It worked. It worked. Sure, you would love to be a contender for a few years. You would love to be able to have a consistent trend of success here. But at the end of the day, the name of the game is winning championships, not getting close a bunch of times. It's about winning them. And at least the Rams can say that their gamble, their approach, their uber-aggressive strategy, that star system, not valuing first-round picks for their own use, but leveraging them in trades, it paid off and it worked. But you also know with that all-in philosophy, that lack of draft picks and premium draft picks, especially 4 years, those chickens could start to come to roost, and they could come to roost in a big way in a hurry. And they certainly did for the Rams this past season. You have to be able to stay healthy, hungry, ahead of the curve. You need a lot to go your way to be able to win it all once. Even more so to try and win it back-to-back or even get close to the position to be able to do that a second time. It's just so hard to do, so maybe we shouldn't be so surprised that the Rams didn't go back and repeat. Maybe we shouldn't even be surprised that the Rams didn't make it back to the playoffs. Maybe that's a bit of a surprise. Maybe the more surprising thing is just how bad they were in 2022. Because you look at this team, like they never looked right from the jump. They started off 3-3, and then they went on a 6-game losing streak, and their season was over at that point. They got only 9 games out of Matthew Stafford, only 9 games out of Cooper Kupp. They gave a sizable contract last offseason to Allen Robinson to be a difference maker for them, and he gave them 10 games and a whopping 339 passing yards. Gee, I wonder who could have seen that coming. Bears fans. You only got 11 games out of Aaron Donald. After the Super Bowl with the retirement of Andrew Whitworth, you could certainly see for the Rams in 2022, the offensive line took a step back. They were bad, especially in pass protection. There was a lot that went wrong for this team in 2022. Lacked balance in the running game, a commitment to consistently want to run. They certainly lacked speed on the outside. That all comes from not having OBJ there. That certainly would have helped them, I think, a lot in 2022. Allowed teams to more easily focus on Cooper Kupp. There was no threat of really going deep over the top, stretching out defenses. Just not a lot went right for these Rams in 2022, which led to conversations about, hey, what's the story here with Sean McVay? He's getting into his later 30s. How much longer is he going to want to do this? And it begs a really interesting question if you're the Rams. Is this going to be a year-over-year kind of drama and soap opera for this team and this organization? And do you want to have to go through this potentially every year for the next year, next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years until Sean McVay eventually leaves? I don't know that you do. So if the Rams come back in 2023 and have a middling season, or maybe they slide into the playoffs, but it's not great, maybe Sean McVay would want to stay, and you tell him politely maybe to go away. Because you want to know that somebody is fully bought in. And it kind of talks to an old philosophy, I think it was Chuck Noll, that would talk about if you are already starting to think about life after football, then you need to go ahead and pursue it because you're not fully bought in and committed. Your commitment has to be absolute. And for Sean McVay right now, perhaps it is fair to say, is his commitment what it needs to be? It may seem unfair, but You're already talking about potentially leaving to go do television. He doesn't want to be there as a part of a rebuild. He came back, yes, but how long is he committed to this? I'm just saying. And you'll wonder what's going to happen with this Rams team now, because you know you're on the other side of that, going all in and winning a championship. And while maybe you'll have Stafford back in the fold healthy in 2023, you've got Aaron Donald coming back. You know, the Rams at some point are going to have to make some trade-offs. They're going to have to make some moves if they ever want to get back into that contending spot again. They've already released Bobby Wagner, who was actually great for them last year, and there's probably more moves to come. Like, could they potentially be thinking about trading Jalen Ramsey? You know, you could talk about not having those first-round picks, and that could work for a period of time, but eventually you need to be able to have that draft pick capital. We have an NFL draft for a reason. Teams value those picks in the NFL draft for the reason at some point in time you can only go so long without having those premium picks before those chickens come home to roost and you run into some really big problems. So could this team be exploring the potential of trading a Jalen Ramsey? Could they be exploring the potential of trading away Cooper Kupp? I'd feel less confident about them trading a Cooper Kupp as long as Sean McVay is there. But in another year, let's say if Sean McVay is gone, Cooper Kupp, might be up for trade. And then this team has free agents like Taylor Rapp, A'Shawn Robinson they've got to make some decisions on. This Rams team feels like, you could say last year, this past season, they had some key injuries to some key people, so that certainly didn't help. That's true. But even what you saw out of this team when they were relatively healthy, when Matthew Stafford was playing and Cooper Kupp was playing, they still weren't very good. Right? They still had a 6-game losing streak with that talent there. So, if anything, you could look at 2022 and think that's more of a manifestation of this team already peaked and they are on the downside, and that downside is only going to get more precipitous in the next couple of years. And it certainly could. Now, when you have a team with that type of star system, if you get a couple of better breaks to go for you, maybe they could find a way to balance out their offense a little bit, get a little more speed on the outside at wide receiver. Maybe this could be a team that contends and wins double digits of games in 2023. That certainly is possible. I just don't know how likely you can think of it being. I mean, they've got a second-round pick in this draft, but no first-round pick again. That belongs to the Detroit Lions, which they gave up in the Matthew Stafford deal. Which at the end of the day, if you're the Rams, and based off of the way it worked out, you do that trade 100 out of 100 times. And if you wouldn't, you'd be frankly psycho for not wanting to do so. Because it worked. It's just now you're on the other side of it worked. You win all in. And now you potentially are starting to come up snake eyes.